Okay, guys, I think let's make a start. So let me start with my introduction. My name is Mitesh. I work for an edtech startup company, Coding Nest. So today's topic of discussion for Meetup is web scraping using LXML and Splash. Certainly, I think actually while working on a project on web crawlers using this AI, we got the need of the scrappers, and there we come across the need for this scrappers. So there we come across various technologies like LXML, then we come across like JavaScript library Splash. Then we have find more beautiful tools like Beautiful Soup, and we have a Scrappy. So these are the major frameworks which are more popular in Python, basically for scrapping part of it. For prerequisite for today's session, I think it's a little bit knowledge of Python is required, a bit understanding of HTML tags for fetching that nodes basically from both HTML as well as XML document. We require a bit understanding of XPath and CSS selectors. So that what is required for today's meetup session. Okay, I think let's move to that presentation part, and then we will see what all projects we are planning to cover. Okay, I think so. Today's topic will starting using both Python. So we'll use LXML, and for JavaScript scrappers, we are using this Splash Deka framework. Okay, so before starting with, so we'll start with this codingness introduction. Basically, we are a group of individuals, so both from technology and the business domain, and we have a strong team of 5. So we believe in like a community knowledge-based learning, and that's why we are sharing this interactive learning in that meetup platform. Okay. I think let's get started. Let's see what is web scraping. Maybe I think all guys might be familiar with it. So we have seen like Google News are using like web scrappers. Even basically like we have a Trivago or like a scam scanner, or like we have lot many websites. They are basically using this web scraping. But let's see what's the definition. So web scraping is a technique employed to extract large amount of a data from the website, so website whereby the data is extracted and saved to a local file in your computer, or it could be saved in any of the databases. So we have basically a lot many websites are available. We have a huge amount of data is available. The data is all unstructured, so we have to write a web scraping tool basically in order to scrap the data. But important is basically going ahead, the number of websites keep on increasing, so we have to somehow keep a track of that number of websites. So there where your crawlers comes into the picture. Once that index of your each and every website is available, then you apply your scrappers tool basically to scrap the data from the websites and to save it locally in the format of it could be like Excel file, it could be like JSON file, CSV file, or it can be saved in any of the databases like NoSQL or RDBMS database. But let's understand what comprise both web scraping. Basically, there are two parts as we mentioned. Basically, the crawlers and the scrappers. The crawlers basically use AI machine learning algorithms basically to get that index of each and every website. So they normally keep their on their data servers at the locally on their system. Basically through clouds, basically they normally share the indexes, and that's how they are keeping a track of each and every websites. So there we use a machine learning algorithms basically to keep a track of even and then now whenever the new websites are coming live. Once that index or basically is available of that website is available, then we apply that scrappers. So what are scrappers? Basically it's a web scrapper is a specialized tool. It's designed to accurately and quickly extract the data from the web pages, so and we can save it locally over there. So again we require a storage system in order to save the data locally using that scrappers. So that's what all constitutes your web scraping. But again yeah, so the crawlers is again the point of discussion, so we'll take this one session more on this crawler part. So currently we are focusing on this scrapper part of it. Okay, I think to start with, I think if you have like a better understanding, so let's see what is that communication network and HTTP protocol is required whenever we are making a request from a client tool or application to your web servers. So let's see what all things happen. So what all transactions happen. So there are a lot many requests and response which goes on happen between a client, which is a web browser, or it could be a tool, or it could be anything to your web servers. Once we have that index of that site is available. First thing is a web users request for TCP connection to web server at port 80, which is by default. Then once that request has been gone, it goes to your web server. So web server accepts the TCP connection at port 80 and notify web user. So this is the major challenge, major challenge. If that connection doesn't happen, basically it will give you a kind of an exception. So it's always a good practice whenever you are creating a program to write a kind of exception handling if that connection is not able to achieve. Yeah. Once that connection is there, then web user, which is your client, sends HTTP request message. HTTP request message, it could be like a get request, it could be like a post request, it could be like put request, it could be anything. Basically to your TCP connection requesting for a particular object. Object could be anything, basically requesting for a particular page or something or data from that server. Once it's there, then web server receives HTTP request message and responses with the required objects, because a connection has been established between your client and the server. So it's basically it's like a to and fro deka process. Okay, so this is how we basically, first and foremost part, we have to create a connection between a client and a web server. Once that connection is being established, then we normally request for any particular object by using like get request or a post request. Then your web server respond back. Normally it responds back with your HTTP HTML code. And if you are using a browser, basically browsers basically parses that HTML code and gives you the website view of it. So that's how basically that's the communication network happen between your client and the server. I think with this understanding, think I think what is required. Okay. So what tools and libraries we will be using on? First, we'll be working on the request. I think let's see that request. So I have opened the links available. Yeah. So request is a Python library available. So if you are installing normal Python, it's not available. But if you're installing Anaconda, then this request module is available. So through this request module, basically you can make both get request and a post request, or any request between a client and a server. So this is basically help you to make a client, which is like a Python script over here. Or there's an alternative library available which we call it as a URL lib. So URL lib basically again here it's available. So here it's like a complete package. We have to call basically this module dot request in order to make a connection. So basically ideally if request is not available, then you can even go with basically this request. But this request package does provides a lot many utilities as compared to this URL lib.request. Third, most of the times we have seen this particularly tool use. I think maybe you guys are familiar with this Postman. So basically using this Postman. So this is not just only to make like a get request or a post request. Main purpose of this Postman is to basically to create a REST API. So basically a REST API which can basically listen on the request coming from that clients. So basically the purpose of this Postman is basically to create this. So here we'll be using this tool basically to send out the messages, send out the request basically to your other servers. Okay. So this is what we will be using so this is for sending the request from your client, and let's see client to your server. So we'll be using request. Either we can use a urllib.request or we can use a Postman. Once that request has been there to that server, basically server responds back with your HTML code. Now we have an options available basically to extract that HTML part. Only difficult part is nowadays basically all the modern basically web frameworks are available, like which is built from using that JavaScript like React, Angular, Vue.js. So because of this, LXML and Beautiful Soup has a constraint. Basically, it cannot parse that basically it cannot parse that basically that JavaScript part of it. So there we have to use basically a Splash. So there, which we will see basically here, you have to use a Docker in order to run this like a Splash. So which we will see how to basically run this container part of it. Basically, it helps us to parse all the modern beautiful like a JavaScript, the JavaScript websites are available. Scrappy is a complete like a package available which is used for again web scraping. So currently we have taken LXML as well as Splash. One more discussion we will going to take a Beautiful Soup as well as Scrappy. So current discussion will focusing on this LXML and Splash part. Okay, I think let's see this. Yeah, so this is your Splash. Again, this is a very good library available. Basically, this helps us to render your JavaScript. So now all the modern basically websites are basically rendered basically with this Splash. So we can easily make a scrap of those JavaScript. Basically, what we need, basically we need HTML containing those JavaScript. Okay, so this is what we are basically using, both LXML, both LXML. Okay, I think yeah. So we'll be using both LXML as well as this like a Splash part. Okay, next time, whenever we are doing this web scraping part, there we will be taking this Beautiful Soup. So the purpose of Beautiful Soup and LXML is almost the same. Basically, it will help us to pass those HTML content which is coming from those server. But Beautiful Soup provides a lot many other functionalities as well. Say for an example, if HTML is broken, so this can easily be handled using this Beautiful Soup. So I have seen most of the projects in Beautiful Soup, but LXML is like a small gel. Basically, the performance wise, LXML is much faster as compared to this Beautiful Soup. Next, a complete package is available under Python, which is a Scrappy. A complete framework is available. Again, in next discussion, we'll take this beautiful like a soup and the Scrappy part of it. Okay. Now, coming to this prerequisite part, I think a small prerequisite required, basically understanding of this XPath, which is like XML path language for selecting the nodes of a XML or like HTML document. So here few things are, I think, which are very good, like what are child, what are attributes, what are descendants, what are following, so parent, self. So maybe those who have gone through this XPath, they might have an understanding of it. Again, this is a like a prerequisite. So let's see, I think we'll do, whenever we are doing that walk through that each of the project, we will try to use some of them just to get extract basically the nodes from that XML document. Again, okay. Okay, so these are the projects which we are focusing. So this is completely hands-on. So maybe you are guys are free to work along with me. So we have created a small projects. All projects are available under GitHub, github.com/codingness/web scraping. So let me share you that URL on chat. So we're going to go very slow. Basically, yeah, the main agenda is to learn from this. Okay, I have shared you that GitHub link. Maybe you can clone or download this like a project, or you can fork this project to your repository. Okay. Okay, the projects which we'll be working on, let's see that projects, I think we have taken very common projects available. Majorly, why we require a web scraping. Say for an example, we have a website available. We have to extract basically a table from basically a website. So there we can use even like a small, like we can use a pandas, and pandas we can read a directly table into a data frame. But if we require a thing, say for an example, we are requiring a basically a small text or a rating or a picture or a movie or anything which we wanted to download basically from this, so there we have to use a web scraping. So here basically here we'll be extracting all the basically the name of the movie, so which are like top 250 rated movies, year, basically time, we have a rating available. The important part is basically here on the first page we have a 50 movies are available, but when we going to click this next button we have another set of 50, so I think total 181 movies are available. So basically this is part is what we call as a web scraping using recursion. Basically every time we have to repeat that particular function whenever we have this next button available. So this is what we call as a web scraping with recursion. Otherwise so we have taken a small like a website basically to extract the data. So here we'll be extracting out the information like title, we have a price, the quantity available, we have the product description available. So that's a normal activity. If you notice, I think Google is do the same activity. When you host any particular website, on their pages their crawlers look for that new added pages available, and they get things like they got a snapshot available. So when you search something, they normally take a snapshot, they normally take the headlines, most important information like basically a mobile number, contact numbers, a small description. That's what normally basically Google crawlers normally work on. Third, basically, we have taken this Walgreens. Basically, we have taken this. Basically, it consists of like a API request, which we will discuss. Basically, normally we cannot scrap this website until or unless basically we are using some APIs basically to extract the content. Basically, whenever you move from one page to next page, basically it gives you a JSON basically it gives you a JSON response, and this website normally parses JSON response. It normally parses JSON response basically to get that result. Okay. Next Sadeka part is basically this gearbest.com. Again, it could be like I have seen this ebay.com, or we have a flightscanner.com. Again, basically they have basically this component available. And if you wanted to basically extract all the components, say for an example, name, uh, like discounted price, original price, so and so forth. Important is basically these are coming from the JavaScript, and they normally use that React or Angular or Vue.js in order to create these website. So basically, this is what we normally think. These are the basically use cases of like using the scrapper. One could be basically like authentication part of it, like once the user is login, sign in, sign out. Basically, they use like CSRF, cross site request forgery token, basically CSRF. So that's all available in modern basically all the modern frameworks, like we have like Ruby on Rails, it could be like Vue.js. So basically all those have the things which don't allow you to basically to come out of this basically authentication part of it. But let's see what all things which we can do it for this. So this is what we are planning to cover as a project for this meetup session. Okay, I think let's get started with the first project. And this is like a code along exercise. So basically we will try out ourselves, and then we will try to code this other part. Okay, first and foremost part, let's see how to extract the data. So we require the help of the XPath. We require the help of the XPath. Okay, first and foremost part, I think let's open a developer tool. How to open this? So these are the three dots available on that Chrome browser. Then we have more tools available, and then we have a developer tools available. Again, let me this. So again, the shortcuts are also available, but let's see this part. So we have again, so we have a three dots available. First, let me share you this. So maybe all you guys can try out here itself. So majorly what we have to do, we have to find either a XPath, or we have to write a CSS selectors in order to fetch out the details. Basically, we can, there are the lot many websites are also available which can help you to validate whether you are working correctly or not, but the browser is the best way for the JavaScript doing that coding part of it. I think let's try this part. So let me share you this basically a link for this site. Okay. Okay, then we will going to create a Python code to parse this. Okay, I think let's try this part again. So we have a more tools available, and then we have a developer tools available. So here we can use a shortcut like Control plus Shift plus I as well. Okay. Now basically, yeah, so basically we are able to open this developer tools. I think let's see this part. So normally we play with this elements, like a part of it while we are creating that web designing. Basically we keep on basically changing this font size and to play with this in order to see what is the look and feel. So there we can do that runtime changes over there, like we have to change a font family. Either we have to play with this basically a bootstrap, basically margin, border, padding, everything we can play with it. Okay, but here we are not doing that web development. Here we are doing that scrapping part of it. I think let's see how to do that, like a scrapping part of it. Okay, so few things which we normally they can follow. Basically, this is elements or a network. So network is important. Basically, network is important. Basically, it will give you all those like to and fro connection happening. Basically, it will help you what all that connection protocols happen whenever a person makes a request from your client to a browser. So everything we will going to get the details from that network, the network tab over there. Okay, I think let's get start with elements. I think let's do that first basics. I think first thing basically this is your basically your select an element part. So let's select an element part. So we are looking for this basically in order to extract this title. So it's only the Himalayas. So we have to look for this particular title. So this is available. It's only the Himalayas, but we have to extract somehow using that either a XPath, or we have to use a CSS Adhika selectors. First, in order to open that window, so we'll going to work on Control F. So when you open a Control F, basically a window is open. Window is open basically, which there you we can basically work on. Basically here we can write our X path as well as a CSS selectors in order to fetch this particular text. So let's try this activity together. So what we will going to extract first, we will going to extract basically this text. We're going to extract this basically a price. We're going to extract this basically how much the quantity is available, and then we will going to extract this basically a product description part. Few things which we will require. I think let's get started with it. Okay, I think let's again use this basically uh, okay, I think let's try this part. Okay, so we have this basically, it's only the Himalayas. Let's see that how that tree structure is being created. So basically HTML content is like XML. XML is which is like a tree structure. So we have to find a root node, or we have to find a corresponding connecting node, or we have to find a corresponding leaf node. I think that's what we have to search for. Let's try this part. So basically, if you can see, this text is available over here, and that price is available over here. So we can easily able to get the two fields over here. So we can easily able to get the two fields over here. Now let's try this part. So important is basically this is available under this div. So that's the basics I think required. So we have a div container. How to recognize this div container? They have written a class. It could be a ID as well. And underneath we have this h1 tag and we have a paragraph for the p tag available. I think let's try to extract these two parts, I think, to get again confidence before moving ahead. First thing, I think we have to see this part. We have a class. There are two classes are available. If you notice, anybody who this notice, so col hyphen sm hyphen 6, basically this is basically class div container is coming from that bootstrap. So basically whenever you are since see this part, when we have scrolled down to basically to a smaller size, so basically since there are 12 columns available, so it will going to adjust half of the part whenever it's moved to that sm size. So that's what is your bootstrap type. Other is your product underscore main. So since there are two classes are available, so we can even go and use that first class. I think let's try this part. So div. So here we are trying to write a bit code over there. Basically, since there are two class, the first method which we will going to use a contains method. So let's try this. Can we write a code over there at the rate class? The method is our product underscore the main. Okay. If you notice, basically we are able to select this basically product underscore main. Now thing is basically we have to only focus on that h1 tag. So which is your it's only the Himalayas. I think let's go and search for h1. If you notice, we are easily able to reach to this part h1. Basically, we are able to get this particular. Basically, the output is basically it will give you a complete h1 code basically along with its text part. So if you wanted to get explicitly your text, so we have to call this particular method text basically in order to get this. Again, let me reiterate. Basically, we are using XPath basically to get this to get this basically text. So which is under your h1 tag. So first, what we have recognized basically. So what is that class? So here the everything is like a tree structure over there. It consists of the two classes like call sm6, which is basically it's a bootstrap class, and we have a product underscore main, which is another class. So how we have to reach over there? Basically, we have used // div. This is how basically we use XPath. Then since there are two classes are available, so we have to use a contains method. So contains method. So here, this is how you are selecting that particular tag, which is basically ID, which is here, basically here it is your at the rate class. Basically your class name is your product underscore main. So this is how we are able to select. After Afterwards, we have to go to its descendant tags available, which is your h1. So we are able to select that h1 tag, and we are able to if you wanted to select a particular text, I think this is how we're going to use a text property in order to get a text of it. So this is how basically we normally use it. So let's go one by one step ahead, and let's see how to make a complete program for it. Okay, I think this is how we will going to use basically it's only the Himalayas part of it. Then laterwards, yeah, so Manali, I think how to get the values before and after the tags. I think, yeah, I think that's the good question, but it's the bit prerequisite required. Yeah, so basically here, if you notice, basically we have so we normally work on XPath accesses. So XPath accesses, we have like ancestors, we could have a child, we can have a descendant, we can have a following, so and so forth. So basically these are helpful. Basically underneath the parent, what are the basically following sibling? So two siblings together. So basically we can go up the ladder or we can move the bottom the ladder. So there we use XPath accesses. Okay, I think let's make a move. Okay. So let's see this part. So this we will see, I think there is a one property over there which we will going to see over here. Okay. Next part is let's try to fetch this price color. I think which is pretty simple, but let's try this part. So we have to get P. Now we are pretty comfortable with P, but if you notice, we are getting a three arrays. So here one of the three, two of the three, basically we are getting the arrays over there, arrays over there. So basically we are getting the arrays. So but we have to specifically, if we are getting an array over there, since we are looking for, like, let's try for this second, what it is second. So if you notice, there are multiple p's over there, multiple p's over there, but which class you wanted to look for. So here we are specifically looking for that price color. We are specifically looking for that price color. Since there is only one class available, now this becomes a pretty like a simple job. I think let's try this part. uh, so here we have like at the rate class equals to,
साठे यांना 25 जूनला कोरोनाची लागण झाली होती. ते राष्ट्रवादी काँग्रेसचे ज्येष्ठ नगरसेवक.
so at the rate class, let's try is equals to price color. So we have a price color. Hopefully, yeah. So hopefully we are able to select this price color. Now we have to find again text. Again, it's pretty simple text. So this is how we are able to do the two tasks very easily. First, we have got that H1 tag, and second, we have able to get the price of this. Now, if you wanted to remove, so currently it will give you a complete euro 45.17. If you wanted to remove that euro part of it, so you laterwards we can apply that regular expression to work it out. Let's move to the third task, which is more important. I think in stock 19 available. I think let's try this part, in stock 19 available. Okay, so this is available under a different class, basically in stock availability. So here we have to change only basically. So here we have again two classes available. So we have in stock as well as availability. So again, we cannot use this particular method. So again, we have to come back to that contains method. I think let's try this contains method. I think it looks very small, but we have created a complete program. So basically, we can see this part on that PyCharm as well. But let's try with this part. So we have P. We have to look for basically. We have to look for basically. We have to look for availability class. So again, we will see that contains method. Contains method from where we have to look from basically. Yeah. So availability. Okay, I think that's nice. I think we are able to get this part as well. So we are able to get this other part as well. I think, yeah. So if you notice, yeah. So availability part, I think that's part has been done. That's part has been done. So that part has been done. Basically, we have to get a text. If we use a text afterwards, we'll able to get this in stock 19 availability. So we are able to get a three part done. Text we got, in stock 19 availability we got, and euro 45.17 we got. Last part which we are more focusing on this, I think, which is a product description. I think let's see this a product description. uh, okay, this is where the question, I think, who has asked, yeah, yeah, Manali, answer to your question. I think let's see this part. Okay, so let's select this Adeka part. Okay, now important part is, see this part. This is under your paragraph. We have a sibling available, which is a div id. We have this basically class available, which is at the same level. So important part, if you notice, I think all these are pretty on the same deka level part of it, pretty same level part of it. So here we are not getting an exact idea how to get this particular paragraph. So there where you're basically your ancestors, if you are going towards upward, or your descendants or your child will come over there. So let's try to play with XPath accesses. So let's try this part. I think that will give you a bit idea. But important is basically here we have a div tag, we have an ID, and the name is a product description. I think let's try with this product description part of it. Then we will going to create a program for it. So we have a div. Let's try this part. So we have to focus on ID. We have to focus on ID. Uh, so which is product description, product description. Okay, so we are able to reach to this part, product description, but important part is we have to find a sibling just underneath it. So let's try this part. So what we are looking for? We are looking for following sibling. So following sibling means just underneath it, what is that sibling available? So let's try this part. can we work it out? Yes, let's try this part. So following sibling. So we are able to write following sibling, but what sibling we are looking for? We are looking for specifically P. We are looking for specifically P. So we reach to that P, and then we have to find that text available. Then we have to find the text available. So we are able to reach the 4 tasks basically which we are planning to do it. So we are able to get the title, we are able to get that price, we are able to get 19 availability, we are actually able to get a complete string. From there we will going to get this 19 by using a regular expression, and this is how we are able to get that description part of it. So this is basically introduction to your XPath. Let's try to code this part, I think, to get a more understanding part of it. Okay, I think let's move to that program. Okay. Okay, I think the code again is available under your github.com. So those who joined lately, so this is available under github.com, codingness slash web scraping. Okay. Okay, let's see how to create a program for this. So I think this will give us a better idea, basically, to create a program for it. So first and foremost part, let's see what are the tasks we have in our hand. Basically, we're going to extract title, we're going to extract a price, we're going to extract a quantity, and we're going to extract this product description from this basically URL, those who faces any difficulty with Python, just let me know. So we're going to see this part. So here we have used a functional way of creating a program, but it could be a like object oriented way as well, but we feel this task is pretty simple, just we have created this functional way. Okay, so let's see. First is we're going to import the modules. First we're going to import the modules. Okay. Now, what is the task? Since we discuss in that slide, first we have to send a request from basically from your script to that basically on that server. Server will come back with its HTML content, and you have to use basically LXML. There we will going to mention our XPath or CSS selectors in order to scrap that site. So in order to get this particular task. So that is what we are basically aim for this program. So RE basically for regular expression, request for basically sending out a get request, JSON since we wanted to basically we wanted to dump this basically output in the format of a JSON, and for printing out a JSON we are using ppprint. From LXML we are importing HTML since will be reading that HTML the part of the code. Then the rest part of your code is basically is your function. Let's see how the program begins. So the program begins from this particular line. If dunder name dunder equals to dunder main, so we have written a function. This is our URL, so we have copy pasted our URL over there. This is our URL. First task is, as I mentioned over here, is important part over here is first is what are headers. Okay, what are headers? Whenever you are doing a web scraping part of it, every website or every front end has made a basically say for an example, so they normally looks for bots or any crawlers basically looking for it. So you don't want basically they to get to know that you are basically a bot or a crawlers. Basically every time whenever you are creating a scrappers, you have to change the headers. So headers is the way they normally recognize basically where that request is coming from. If you do not change it, so they will going to block your request. So they will going to block your request. So let's see where this value comes from, this header part of it. Okay, again coming back to our website, again coming back to our website. So we have to find basically what are the basically so basically we have to basically find where to get that headers. Okay, let's select this part. Okay, now we are basically looking for that network a part of it. First request is 304. Anyone knows what is that status code 304 means? Anyone on the call knows what is that status code 304 means? Yeah, so basically, 304 code is basically it's like a redirection, redirection code. So what is this 304 code? Basically, uh, whenever you start logging into over there, so basically 304 gives a redirection to another page. And once another page is loaded, or another whatever we are object looking for, then it will give you 200 basically response code. I think let's see this part. I think which we will going to get a feel over here. Okay, so let's see that first request, which is your which is your index.html. Index.html. Let's focus much over here. So this is your request URL. You made a get request, since normally from the websites it's basically a get request. Status code is 304, which is basically it's your redirected status code. Okay, now important part is, see this part. Since I have used this basically from my Chrome browser, so this is the default user agent is. But if you going to use it, basically send this get request basically from that Python request, then it would be like basically from your request like a module, from your request module. But you do not want it to be notified by your system. So basically you have to modify your user agent. So here we are trying to modify our user agent. So that's what we are basically writing over here, user agent. So let's see this part, how we are writing this request.get. This is URL basically coming from this particular function. It's coming from this basically particular function. Then we are updating our headers with this user agent, which is pretty important. So every scrappers, we have to write this particular header. Next part is why we have kept in the except block, because most of the times because of that network delay or something, so you might not get all the responses back. So basically it's always good to put in basically exception over there. Once your try block is successful, once that request has been sent to the server and that server has sent some kind of a response back, then we will move to this else deka deka block. So response.text.encode, basically this is for ignoring. So what is basically whenever we use any data from any particular website, so they normally use any kind of an encryption. So what it means, so previously whatever the text we are coming up, so we are encoding it to the ASCII, or if it not, then ignore it, then otherwise decode it to the UTF-8. So that's just pretty standard, we normally use it. Now, basically HTML tags are available and we wanted to convert into XML. So that's what where you can apply your Exadeka path over there. Now, whatever that we have learned over there, what we have learned over there, basically for title, same we will going to copy paste from there. Price, we will going to copy paste over there. Availability, we will going to copy paste over there. Now important part is availability, how that availability data looks like. That's the important, I think. Availability data consists of basically in stock 19 available, and we have to fetch this 19. So we can use basically a Python string operation, or we can use a regular expression as well, so we have tried a regular expression. Re.find all, we are looking for only the numbers, basically from availability. From that availability, it normally gives that list. That's why we are using that zeroth index. Description, again, last time what we have used for description, I think let's try this part. So we have used a description. So this is the code for the description which we have used this. So we just copy paste this code. We just copy paste this particular code. We just copy paste this particular code in order to get this, So let's, we have copy paste this code, and this is how we got the particular description. Okay, so let's try this part. So we have written everything over here. Now important part is, let's try to create a bit dictionary. So we wanted to keep a title as my key, and whatever the value is coming from. Price is the key, whatever that price is coming from. If you wanted to apply a regular expression for removing that euro, which can also be done. In stock, basically it will be 19. Description, basically whatever you want to remove for. So this is how basically you created a dictionary. Now it's always a good practice. Say for an example, you want to store the data, or you want to share the data to on the networks. You want to convert it to that SQLs, or you want to save it in that MongoDB as well, or wherever you wanted to save this. So it's always good to convert into JSON format. So JSON.dumps basically convert this dictionary into a JSON string format. JSON string format. So this is how we are basically returning it. And pp print is basically used for basically just like pretty printing for that JSON format. So this is how we are able to create our first project, where we have extracted title, price, quantity available, and a product description. So let's try to execute this. Right click, book to scrap. Okay, see this part. I think that's the best part. I think that's what your exception handling comes over there. When you execute it the first time, you are trying to scrap this particular website at port 80, as we discussed on the website. Basically, that's the by default port. It normally makes a connection. So we got this particular error. Maximum retries exceeded with that URL. That particular time, basically, since see this part. So after basically from that book to scrap, there is basically a new URL afterwards, which it has appended this, and it has given you this particular exception over there. So let's try one more time. I think that's a good. We have basically handled that exception part of it. Okay, so now we are able to get the data. So we are able to get the data basically which we are looking for. So we are able to get title, we are able to get a price, we are able to get in stock, and we are able to get a complete description. Complete description here and where basically you can see basically a special we are seeing this like a backslash coming over there, which maybe we can apply that string formats basically in order to ignore this part of it. I think rest all looks data pretty nice. So we are able to get that title, price, in stock, and a description basically from a simple HTML document. Anyone has any questions? Please everyone try this. Check if it's working at your end. Anyone has any queries on this project? Then we will move to one step more. Okay, I think let's move to the next this. Okay, next project. Okay, let's move to the next the project. The best part with this, basically, it has the same content as compared to the previous one. Only one challenge behind this project is basically it consists of a multiple pages. So each and every page has a list of 50 movies. I think let's see which one is the first one. I think yeah. Okay, I think yeah. So the first one is the Shawshank Redemption. Okay, I think so. What is the task for this project is basically we have to extract the name of the movie. We have to extract the year of the release. We have to extract basically say for an example duration, and we have to extract this like a rating part of it. Again, the same thing which we will going to work first. We will try to write our XPath. Second thing is only thing is basically there is a next button. Important is we're going to write a function, and then we're going to call recursively call the function wherever you find that next button. So there are two next buttons available, one at the beginning of the page and one at the bottom of the page. So what is your starting criteria? You find that next button, you find that next button. If that next button is there, again repeat that function. Again, if it is a next button is there, again repeat that function. What is your stopping criteria? If you do not find that next button, that's your stopping criteria. So that's what we normally call it a recursion. The same project, but we have to do one step ahead. Wherever you find it next, you have to call that function again. So there where you normally use a recursion. Second thing important is basically whenever you're working on that recursion part, whenever you reach to the last page, since you won't able to find that next button, so there where basically you will most probably going to get an exception over there. So there you have to handle in such a way, basically when you reach to that last particular page, you won't get that exception. That's what we call it as a stopping criteria. I think let's try to use this part, I think, to get an understanding of this. So the same project will do that the same way. First time we will going to write our all XPath. We will going to copy each and every one of them, and then we'll work on that starting and stopping the criteria for it. Okay. First thing, let's extract that title. I think let's try extract this title. Okay. So this code is available under your imdb underscore 250.py. Okay. Okay, I think let's try this together. I think that's the activity. We'll do it together again. Let's see. We are comfortable. Okay, again we'll move to this developer tool. Okay, in order to write that basically, so we'll use Control F. Okay, so we are able to open this. So here we can use our basically our XPath or a CSS selectors. Those who are comfortable with CSS selectors, then they can basically use for it. CSS selectors mainly commonly used for that JavaScript part of it. Yeah. Okay. I think let's try with this part again. First and foremost part, let's try with this part. So this is my basically select an element. So we are looking for that basically, we are looking for this basically a title of this like a movie. I think title of the movie. Okay. So we are able to get it. Now let's see, can we able to create a kind of a tree structure over there, If you notice, basically we have a like a anchor tag available. We have a span tag available where they have returned at 1.0. We have a h3 class available. We have a h3 class available, which is lister item content. Okay, I think we able to get this part. I think if you notice, lister item content, it's the class which consists of this h3, which consists of this paragraph, which consists of rating, so and so forth. So majorly we are able to find our parent. I think let's try to copy this Sadhika part. Let's see. So this is my class. This is a complete name, so we can easily use it lister item content. I think let's try this part. So let's copy this part. So from the div, so directly we can use this at the rate class equals to, so we are looking for that particular, do I got it? No. Okay, no worries. I think let's use a contains method. Sorry, I think spell mistake. Okay, yeah. So we are able to get this part. Uh, the thing, if you are noticing over here, is we are getting 1 by 50, 2 by 50, 3 by 50. Why we are getting this? Since there are the list of 50 movies in the same page. Since there are list of 50 movies in the same page, that's why we are basically getting this array. I think that's the good. I think just we have to do it for one time. Basically for one movie, we can get that remaining details available. Okay. So we are focusing on that the name. I think first, I think name, yeah. So this is available under anchor tag, but important is we have to get this h3 tag. So next part is we have to get this particular class, which is your lister item header. So we have h3, then we are looking for a particular class equals to, so we are looking for a particular class which is called lister slash item slash header. Any mistake? Yeah, so basically, yeah, lister item header. Done. Okay, I think it's better to copy there. Okay, so let's use that contains method. So at the rate class, so we have lister slash item slash header. Yeah, finally we got it. Okay, next part is basically, yeah. So next part is basically we are looking for that anchor tag. So this is my anchor tag available. So what we are basically looking for, text property. I think we are able to get this part. Okay, so finally we are able to get the name of the movie. Important part, if you notice, this is 1 by 50, 2 by 50, 3 by 50, so and so forth. We are able to get all the 50, basically the names from the movie. So we are able to write your basically your XPath. I think that's pretty simple. So we have gone from that root node till we got that basically what that node we are basically looking for. Next part, we have to look for how to fetch that year of the release, which is 1994. Again, we'll use this 1994. Okay, I think let's try this part where we are. We are item content. Okay, so we do not need to go to this anchor tag. So we have to go to this span tag. Only the difference is we have to go to the span tag. So that's the only difference. I think let's try this part. Uh, uh, so we have to go to span tag, span this, but important is we have to mention that class name over there because there are two span classes over there, span classes over there. So let's take this lister item year. Lister item year contains, so at the rate class. Do not need to worry. I think the code is available. Just we are trying out ourselves. Lister item year. Okay, so we are able to get this, and we are basically looking for that. Basically looking for that text property. So successfully we are able to write one more basically to get this. So so how we have done it? So we have gone from that basically root, which is your lister item content. Then we have gone to this basically h3 content, which is your lister item header. Then we have gone to this span. We have selected this particular class, and we are basically looking for the text part of it. So far we are able to do the two tasks for it. We have to extract two more thing, 142 minutes and 9.3 minutes. Let's see if we have any challenge over there. I think let's try this part. So we have to get this 142 minutes, 142 minutes, where it is. Yeah, so basically if you notice, so we have to go to directly towards that outer. So we have to go to p. We have to get this class. Let's try to get this class, which is text muted. Text muted. uh, so we have a class which is your text muted, which is text muted. I think we are able to get this. Only we have to go to a span where my class is my runtime. I think we are almost there. Yeah. Is it? So we got to a class which is my text muted. We have a span which is a class is equals to runtime. Only thing is, yeah, text muted. Let's try one more time. So we have a p class which is my text muted. Yeah,
Mitesh, it has an extra space at the end.
yeah. Thanks, Zoeb. Yeah. Okay, I think we are almost there. I think span. We have a span. We have to find at the rate class. We have one more runtime. Runtime. Yeah. Finally, we got it. Yeah. Text. So this is how we are able to get this. Important is here we have an array. So if we do it one time, I think it's common for all the remaining 50 parts of it. I think that's the good. I think we are able to get this part. I think just let's try this for 9.3 and then one more part, which is next. Then we can see how to write a recursion project. Okay. I think let's see that rating part of it. Okay, how to get this rating part of it? I think that's again pretty simple. We have to see this div class, which is ratings slash hyphen bar. So let's try this part again, which is at the rate class, which is ratings hyphen bar. Okay. So we are able to get this bar. We have to find another. So we are basically looking for this 9.3. So 9.3. So there is a class available which are ratings IMDb rating. I think let's write this again div there. So we have a div. Basically, since there are two classes available, so we have to write a contains method. I think that's pretty common. I think class, which class we are looking for, ratings slash imdb slash rating. So we are able to reach this part and we have to extract data value. I think at the rate data value. I think we are able to get this part. So we are able to do this part. So we are able to get the name. We are able to get year. We are able to get 142 minutes. We are getting this 9.3. Only thing, the last thing which we wanted to play with this, we have to write a basically a recursion logic in such a way. Basically, wherever the page has a next property there, so you have to repeat the same like a process. You have to repeat the same process. I think let's focus for this next. Can we write a logic for this next part? I think that's what we have to this. So that would be a starting criteria. Stopping criteria is basically whenever you do not find this. So stopping criteria, you have to use exception handling. I think let's try this part. Okay, I think let's do this part next. Okay, so can we able to write a next part? Yes, it looks like it's under your div class, which is your DSC. Then we have an anchor tag available. Important part is when you wanted to jump, basically you have to basically look for that href property over there. So basically, yeah, next is available. So next is available. I think that's the good. I think we have to just look for this class, which is DSC. I think let's try this part. So we have a div property uh, at the rate class, which is basically DSC. I think we are almost there. So we have to look for anchor tag. I think we are almost there. Yeah. And at the rate href. And that's important. See this part, we are getting one of two. Why one of two? Basically, since there are two next buttons in a page, one at the bottom, one at the above, one at the bottom, one at the above. So we are easily able to get this part. I think let's write a program for it. I think with this, I think let's write a program. Okay, first we will write a simple program. First we will write a simple program, and then we will going to basically move to a recursion logic so that you become more comfortable with it. Let's see this IMDb one. So what is the task we are looking for? We have to extract a title. We have to extract the year of the release. We have to extract the duration. We have to extract the rating part of it. So basically, we have a request module again. Basically, here we'll be sending out basically a get request. JSON, whatever that result we will going to get, we will going to basically dump in a JSON format, and this is how basically printing out in a pretty print. From LXML import HTML, since the whatever the data is coming from that IMDb server, so will be in the format of HTML since you wanted to parse it HTML part of it. So this is just a function definition. So Python won't make any change. So it will just make an entry in your private heap memory. And this is how the program starts. So it looks for this if dunder name dunder equals to string dunder main dunder. Yes, the condition becomes true. So you start making a call to the function, and this is how you're passing as a keyword parameter. So URL. This is a default value. So default value is basically is an empty list. I think we are good. I think let's try to write a program. Important is exception handling, as we discussed earlier. See this part, we are making a get request. We are making a URL which is your IMDb, which is coming from this function. Header, that's what we already discussed. If you do not write this, basically IMDb website basically block you, considering you as a bot. Whatever response we will going to get, we will going to get a response basically in the HTML format. Since this condition most oftenly will going to get a fail, if it is, we are it's like a good practice basically to get exception handling. Since if we do not know what is the name of the class, I think name of the class, I think we can write a generalized exception as well. And this is how we are basically like printing out this. If it is successful, there is no exception, we'll come to that else part of it. First and foremost part, since we are using that XPath, we have to convert basically HTML into a XML part of it. So HTML dot from string, basically it will help us to convert in the format of a XML. XML means in the format of a tree structure. Now we have seen all the XPath over there. Important part, every time we are getting an array, so we have to make a loop over there. So movies, basically it will give you an array. So for movie, basically it will going to do that activity basically for all the movies. Since there are 50 pages of, since there are 50 movies available in that particular page, uh, yeah, so it's 50 movies available in that particular page. Title, since we have already written that XPath. Year of the release, we have already released it, we have already written that XPath. Duration, we have already written it. Why we are putting that zero subscript, basically since every time it will going to give you a list, and each and every time you're focusing on only that the zeroth index part of it, and then rating part of it. So you created basically a dictionary, top movies, basically top movies dot append m. So basically this will going to iterate, since there are 50 arrays are available over there, so it will be iterating for each and every movie, and you are basically collecting the data part of it. Print length of the top movies, since here we are not doing any recursion, so which we will see how to implement a recursion part of it. So we should get a 50, and we should get all those movie with title, year of release, and duration, the ratings over there. I think let's try to execute this part of it. Okay, surprisingly, there is a movie of uh, so Tare Zameen Par, yeah, it's there. I think top, yeah. Idiots, yeah, Three Idiot movies also there. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So in a page, we got those 50 movies available. Only thing is, this is the same which we have done it earlier. Only difference basically, yeah. Yeah, so basically so this is like a 50 like 50 movies over there, basically. Yeah, important part is now we have to look for other, basically we have to move to that recursion logic part of it. I think let's see that recursion logic part of it. Okay, now same program, since we know what is our starting criteria and we know what is our stopping criteria. Starting criteria, since we have already found that next button over there, we already know that XPath we have written. In a page, it is giving you a two next buttons. So we have to go till that part where we do not get it next. So that's what we are basically looking for it. Okay, I think let's try this part. So the earlier function, let's see how to convert it. So basically, again, we have the same thing. We are looking for title. We are looking for year of the release. We are looking for duration, the rating part. And now let's see how to create basically a recursive adhika function. Okay. Only the changes, basically, yeah. So here we have written a new function, basically HTML parser recursive, because in that function itself, we are going to call it for that next page. I think let's try how to do it. HTML recursive page. See this part, page URL. I think that's the new part which have come over there. When we move from one page to another page, basically there is a change of that URL. That's a change of the URL. That's a change of the URL. So which we will going to fetch over there, and which we will going to fetch over there. If you notice, there is a change of URL. So if you notice here, it's moved to start 101. Again, if you notice, start 151. So basically there is a change of URL. Basically, it will help you to jump over there. So if you notice, when we apply that next, logic over there, when we apply that next logic over there, so we got this basically href there. So this will help us basically to move from next there. I think let's write a logic for it. Okay, same thing. We'll write a try. We'll write a except if there is any failure. Else part, we are at the same part of it. Then we are converting a string into an XML. Basically here we will going to get an array of 50 where iterating for each and every part. I think it's the same logic which we are writing it earlier. Then we have a title, year of release, duration, and the rating. This is how we are keeping it in a dictionary format, and this is how we are appending it. So this what we got it earlier. Basically, this is what we are got it earlier. Basically for the first page. Now next page. This is your starting criteria. Basically, this is a starting criteria, and you are looking for href. You are looking for href. See this further part. Next page, whenever it will give you a two basically index. It will give you a basically a two index. What is the stopping criteria? On that particular page, when you got that number of length less than less than 2 or not equals to not equals to 0, because on that last page we will going to get a length as a 0, so that will becomes your stopping criteria. Or you can do a try or exception handling part of it. If see this part, how we are jumping from one page to next page, this is what we call as a recursive. From inside the function, we are calling a function again. There is a parameter available, basically page URL. So you have to change an argument. See how we are changing that argument. URL joint. From that earlier, we are appending that page number. We are appending that page number, which we will getting from that XPath, which we are getting from that XPath, since we are extracting that href. From your earlier URL, you are making a join with that new page, since it won't give you a complete path of it. So now this URL join will give you a complete path of it. Whenever you get that next page, so you are calling this function again. Basically it will going to parse one more time, next 50, next 50, next 50. Whenever that length becomes 0, you are just returning none. Whenever it returns none, so directly program comes out of it. Print top movies, it will going to basically print those whatever 181 movies are available, and then it should ideally print a 181. I think let's try to execute this if it's working. Please everyone try this. Okay, I think let's see this part. So we have this URL available. So we have this URL available. I think let's try this part. Okay, I think let's see this part. Okay, only thing is, let's try this part of this. Is it correct or not? I think let's try to modify this part again. Delete. So let this get URL from here. Okay, I think the gist is, I think if it doesn't work, I think even if it does, I think let's try one more time. Okay. So we have this page URL, we have done response, we got accept, we got else part, we got tree part, we got movies. For movie in movies, we got title, H3A text, H3 span, text, runtime, XPath, top movies. I think it should, yeah. So this is working. Yeah. Yes. So finally we able to get this 181. I think, yeah. I think that's what how we have to run this. Basically, only difference is basically we have to write this next page logic, which is your starting criteria, and this is the closing criteria. If you do not want to write this, basically again it's a good practice to put everything in your try except adhika block, try except adhika block, and this is how you're able to parse. So here we are able to parse complete 181 movies available on that IMDb website. So this is the most simplistic cases when you are able to parse it HTML part of it. But most of the times, basically you will see that JavaScript available over there where we normally faces those like a problem. I think let's see that a case for that a JavaScript application. Okay, so here we'll be working on that third project, I think, which is on that Walgreens.com. I think here we have to use that APIs. I think before moving to this, I think let's take a look to that Postman. Okay, basically we'll be using this Postman. Important is we have to play with this since we have to create since that next project normally works on that JSON. So rather than giving a HTML content back, it is normally giving you a JSON. So since it is an application of an API, so there we have to write an API parser over there. Once we able to read the data for an API which is basically it's a dictionary, then basically we can work it out. But let's see this part. So the major purpose of this Postman, basically to create a API. Normally we can also use for sending out a different request, like we can send a get, post, put, patch. Main purpose is basically to test out your APIs. So you create your REST APIs, and using this call, basically you can play with your request and response of your APIs. I think let's try this part. I think the website which we have to look for is walgreens.com. I think let's try this part. Walgreens.com. Okay. So basically yeah, so here important is we have so how to get to know it's basically the responses returned by this server is in the format of a JSON. But let's try this. Can we get a something out of it? So let's try this contact lenses. We have shop all contact lenses. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So this is basically it consists of 105 items. The items per pages, it consists of 24. They call it 24 items per pages. 24 items per pages. So it consists of a 24 pages items per pages. When we click on to that next like a part of it, basically it gives you a next items per pages. So basically it might be using some kind of a JavaScript in order to move from one page to another page. So how to try out this activity? Let's try to disable that basically JavaScript from the browser. So basically let's try to script that JavaScript from the browser. Okay, I think let's try this other part. We have to go to that settings. Let's see if we disable that JavaScript Java. Okay. Uh, so JavaScript allowed. So let's try to block this. Let's try to block this. Okay. Now we have blocked this this, and let's try to load this again. Let's try to load this again. Okay. Now let's see, is there any property? I think not sure. I think let's try this part. So look and feel, I think looks like the same, but let's try to click this button. So when we click on this button, so if you notice, there is no basically action taking place. Basically, even though we are clicking on this button, but it's not redirecting to that next page. So looks like there is some JavaScript property over there. So that's the main constraint part. That's the main constraint part with your request module. Basically here, basically request module cannot parse this is basically your JavaScript. So that's what your splash comes into the picture. That's what splash into the comes into the picture. But let's try this part. I think let's see what is the action we are taking place. I think let's try this part. So let's enable this again and let's refresh this part. Okay, let's refresh this part. I think yeah, it's working fine. Okay, so what we will going to do it basically, let's again open our again open that our development tool. Development tool. Let's see what are the actions it is getting take. It is happening whenever we are moving from basically whenever we are moving from one page to another page, one page to another page. So this will give us an idea. Basically, yeah. Okay, so let's try this part. So currently there is no network activity over there, no network activity. Previously we are using elements. So I have jumped to this network. Basically network, as we discussed earlier, so it will give you an interaction, what is happening between your client and the server, client and the server. So let me try to click this button. So when you click this button, so see, so these many things happen over there. These many things happens. So that's a transaction happen between your client and your server. That's a transaction happen between client and server. So let's go for this XHR. Okay. So XHR, if you notice, basically for XHR, uh, anyone knows what is the full form of XHR? So this is your XML HTTP request. XML HTTP request. I think let's click on this part. Okay. If we notice there, so it is basically previously every time we are working on a GET request. Now the difference here is basically we are moving from GET request to a POST request. So this is a POST request. So response headers, I think response headers. So basically this is a POST request. Important over here is, so this is walgreens.com. Method is a post. Cookie, most of the times we require this cookie part as well whenever we are basically making a basically yeah, we are making a like a hack of it. So there we might require a cookies for this. Okay, so important is, yeah, see this other part. I think that's so again important is origin and referrer. Origin is, this is where we started with walgreens.com. Referrer is basically this is what we are moving from one page to another page. this is your user agent. I think this is what we have to mimic since we are using that particular browser. Another thing basically which is common with this basically whenever you are working whenever you are working basically with your post request, there is a payload which is associated with it. So basically you have to send a URL along with a post which is basically your payload. So payload looks like in the format of a dictionary format. I think we are good with it. So here one more thing, I think let's see this part. Yeah, another thing which we notice over here is content type. So content type is basically it's your application slash JSON, application slash JSON. I think we are good. I think we know it's a post request. Important is, see this is a URL. This is the URL. But here important is, let's try to pose this request. Let's try to pose this request. Let's try to use this request. Okay, Control C. Now here we can easily write our Python code basically to create a client, but let's try to use a Postman which is available. Postman which is available. Okay, Postman which is available. I think yeah. So basically yeah. Let's try first get request for this basically URL. Yeah, so important if you notice here the status code is 400 bad, means that this is not a this is not a get request. I think let's use that post request. Again, this is a bad request. Your browser sent a request that this server cannot be understood. Basically, since it requires a payload, how to send that payload? I think there is a body button. There is a body button. Raw format. I think raw format. I think let's try this part. So let's paste this code. Let's copy paste this code. Okay. So basically, we have copy paste this payload from there. So this is a text format, uh, or this is a basically it's a JSON format, or let it be a text format. Okay. Now let's come to that params deka part of it. Params part is important. Params part is important since we know that what is a content type. Content type is basically it's an application deka JSON. I think let's try to write this. So we have a content. So we have a content type. What is the value we are looking for? Which is application slash JSON. Okay. So I think we are able to add this. Let's try to send. Okay. Now that's the important. See the data which it normally has given back. Basically, whenever you are moving from basically from one page to another page, it's like a post request. You have to send a payload. The content type is your application the JSON. So this is your payload which we have copied over there. This is the param which we have added over there, which is application JSON. Let's see how the data looks like. So here the data is coming in the format of a JSON format. So that's the important. So here instead of like HTML, here the data is basically in the format of a JSON format. So here the data is in the format of a JSON format. And important interesting part over here, it's here the products basically it's a list which consists of a multiple dictionaries. And dictionaries, here we have a product info basically which consists of product info. Basically, we have a product ID. We have image URL. We have a product URL. Basically, we have a unit price. We have a review URL. So basically, everything detail which we are looking for, like a regular price, on sale, average rating. So everything is available over here in the format of a dictionary. So now the job is pretty simple. Basically, rather than sending a get request, we have to send a post request along with a required payload. The data would be in the format of a JSON, which we will going to consider in the format of a dictionary, and whatever the details we require, we basically require, we basically will going to parse this. I think with this, I think let's move on. I think let's see how to work on this. Okay. Now important is the Postman has a very good functionality. You can create a directly basically a script out of it. I think if you see, there is a button available called code. There is a button available called code. So when we going to call a code, so which language you require basically the code to be available. So you require the language to be of Objective C. You require in the format of PHP. You require in the format of PowerShell. Since you require in the format of HTTP.client using this basically module, or since we require in the format of basically request module. I think let's see what all things are available. So we have import request. This is the URL which we are looking for. This is the payload basically which we are sending. Headers consist of a content type. Cookie, that's what it is, directly copy. As I mentioned, actually it's used for one of the hack available. Then rather than sending a get request, we are sending a post request. This is the URL, this is the header, this is the payload required. So payload is the additional part along with the headers in the post request. Response will be in the format of a JSON format, which we can easily extract. So that's the main crux of this particular Deka project. That's the main crux of this particular project. Okay, I think let's Deka try this part. I think let's Deka try this part. Okay. So next project is our basically from wallgreens.py. Okay, let's see what is the objective of this particular. So we have to extract the image URL. We have to extract a regular price. We have to extract a product ID. We have to extract a product display name. We have to extract a product URL basically from that JSON format. But let's see how to send a request. So here import request in JSON, which is required. Basically in order to join this, so basically to URL, we are using that URL join. Again, basically here we are using basically page number. Again, this is what we are basically using, since there are multiple pages, 1 2 3 4 5 pages available. So basically again it's a it's a recursion problem. Okay, so this is a function definition which requires two basically parameters, URL and a page number. So let's try this part. So this is how the program starts. If dunder name equals to dunder main, extracted products, we require all the products. APIs, so API scraper. So this is basically the URL which we are looking for. Let's try this part. So this is the URL. By default, we are starting from page number. Important is, as and when we proceed, so we have to keep on incrementing those page number in order to move from one to another. URL. So now we are creating that post request. This is URL. This is basically it's your payload. Payload. It consists of your page number and other things. Basically, we have copied directly from. Here. So page number 3 this till coupon store ID. Everything we copied from here. Headers, basically content type, application Java, user agent. So basically this is how we have copied from the browser itself. So this is how we have created URL, payload, headers. Now we are sending a post request, URL, data. See, the important part is basically it has to be in the format of basically the data is coming in the format of yeah, so it's in the JSON format. So we are using JSON.dumps basically to read the data from it. Now headers is equals to the header. So we got that response done, response.json. So now the data is available in the JSON format. Whatever thing we require, basically we can use a dictionary Now this is in the format of a dictionary. This is how we'll get every data available. So if we need a products, so data products. So basically from the dictionary, let's try this part. Yeah, so here the key is basically it's a products. Here the key is basically it's a products. So here it's a products. Now basically you wanted to move to that multiple products. Every detail you require, you going to extract this. Now in order to move to the next, basically page number, this is how you keep on incrementing till one say next. I think that's how we are getting it. And in order to basically handle that stopping criteria, basically this is how we are able to do that, handle that stopping criteria. So let's try to use this. So hopefully this should give us the result. So let me try again. Yeah, so we are able to extract all 105 items. So this is how we are able to extract all 105 items. So this is how we are able to do that basically API scrapping using that recursion. API scrapping using recursion. Last project which I wanted to go through, basically it's on Splash. I think let's see that Splash part of it. Okay, Splash. Okay. Okay, so this is the last like a part of it. Basically, it's a JavaScript rendering service. Most of the times, all the modern programming, all the modern websites which are available, like in Angular, React, Vue.js, basically they're your request module, your basically URL lib module, all those got failed because there you won't get that exact JavaScript over there. So Splash, that's the JavaScript rendering service available. So it's a lightweight web browser with an HTTP API implemented in Python 3 using Twisted and Qt5. So Qt5 and Twisted is basically it will going to open basically a lightweight desktop application. Lightweight desktop application. Let's see how to install this. I think that's what the challenge is. I think let's try this. Okay. So directly we cannot use a pip install this Splash. So there we have to basically install your Docker. So make sure your Docker version is greater than equals to 17. You have to basically first pull pull this particular image which is available under scrapping hub slash forward slash splash. Once this is available, you have to make a start of the container. You have to make a start of the container. I think let's try this activity, see if it's working at my end. Okay, and now I'm able to start this container. So it is listing on the port 8050. It is listing on the port 8050. So let's try to use this. So localhost 8050. Okay. So see this part. Basically, it's a lightweight server. It's a lightweight server. It's a lightweight server. So basically, we are able to use this application. Now, see this important part. So the here the language which it internally uses is a Lua application. It's a Lua language. So it's not a Python language. It's not a Python language. Okay, I think so. Basically, it's trying to render HTTP google.com. Instead of this, we will try to render our own own website. So which is basically we are planning to do it this gearbase slash flash sale.html. I think let's try this render me. Okay, one more time. Let's try this. Okay. See this the part, what all details it normally gives. So let's try to understand this basically. It's a function. So that's how we normally write a splash script. whenever you are writing a function, so you have to use a end. Basically, it consists of two parameters, which is a splash and arguments. So this is how you write your main function. uh, splash colon go args dot url. Basically, whatever that argument is coming from that a user, basically it will going to try this part. While trying this part, it will going to wait that much time. Assert is basically it's making a true and false, means whether this is working correctly or not. If it is not working correctly, what you wanted to return, basically you wanted to return basically png is like a snapshot. har actually it's your har. Basically it will give you all the statistics. html, so basically you're looking for this basically html content of it, say for an example, there is a website available which consists of lot of javascript available. So there where your basic request module won't work properly, so there you have to use basically splash in order to get that actual html over there, so that you can apply your web scraping logic over there. I think let's try this part. So see this part. First thing, it has given you a snapshot. So this is your snapshot of your website. This is your statistics of the data available from your network. And this is what basically you're looking for, which is basically your HTML content. Okay. I think this is your website, gearbest.com slash flash sales .html. So instead of this, it could be a Flipkart, or it could be like Amazon.in as well. All these basically, this is a component. So this is built using that React or Angular. So this is a component. What we need basically a name, discounted price, and the actual price. So this is what we need the detail. So how we get to know it's basically it's a JavaScript. Let's try to disable this. I think this will help us. I think let's try this part. So we'll go to this settings. We'll look for JavaScript. So this is my site settings. This is JavaScript. Let's try to disable this. Let's try to refresh this again. Okay. If you notice, nothing is popping up. So looks like everything, whatever it's available in this, basically all the components, basically it is built from that React JavaScript. That's why it's not available. So let's try to, so even important is using that request and URL module, whatever you will going to get, basically it's that response excluding that JavaScript part of it, I think let's enable this part. So that's what basically is your splash comes into the picture. Okay, so control A, control C. I think let's try to so instead of this, let's try this part. What we are majorly looking for, basically we are looking for only HTML content. Okay, let's try this part. So few hacks are required in this so we will see the script part. Only thing which we have to see is basically how to integrate this script with your LXML part of it. Rest, you are basically, as we are working on same XPath, I think which we will work it out. So this might take us a bit time. I think let's wait. So currently it's rendering, please wait. So here timeout is basically it's a 3600 seconds, 3600 seconds. So this is completely based on Lua. I think those who are familiarized with this. Yeah. So there is a small API overview available. I think that's what where we can read out basically in order to make the things. So what all these args are available, what is its status code, what is content type, how to add a customized header. So customized header, it's very important since we wanted to mimic the same as what we are basically looking for. So we have to use this. What is go, or how to set a new content, basically this, how to lock the navigation, how to make a on request is important, basically yeah. On response headers, if you wanted to make the changes, if you wanted to initialize some cookies, or if you want to delete other some cookies, so and so forth. I think that's the good. I think let's work on this part. So currently I think it's not working. I think we have to make a modification part of it. I think let's do this part. So let's see that last part over there. Okay. Again, just it's like a small demo, but I think if you want to read this part, I think basically we can go and read that apart from that API documentation available, but I can help you with the code part of it. Okay. First and foremost part is basically user agent. As we discussed, basically we have to add a user agent. We have to add a user agent as we discussed earlier. Again, where it is available, let's try this part. Again, we will go to more tools, developer tools. Let's refresh this part. We'll go to the first. So this is your user agent available. So we'll copy paste this user agent available. Okay, so this is your cookie details available. Let's copy paste this cookie details. Let's copy paste this cookie details. So I have copy paste all the cookie details over to the splash, over to the splash. Okay. So we have done a changes. Basically, we require a user agent. We require a user agent, which is the same as of your browser. Otherwise, your website will going to block you. We have added a hack. Basically, cookie we have added over there in that header part of it. We are adding a customized header. So this is the splash set custom headers header. Private mode enabled. Basically, whenever you are working for any of that request, you have to make a private mode enable. So this works similar to basically your cognitive mode over there. Images enabled. Basically here by default is true. If we make it as a false, it will just make this it a bit faster. Then you are basically splash.go. Basically this is how you're sending a request. You are waiting for that much second and you are only looking for that HTML content of it, and you are looking for only that HTML content of it. Let's try to render this. So can we get I think let's try this part. See, that's the best part with this splash. So you got all the JavaScript. I think every now the HTML is available. So now only question is basically how to integrate this splash script with your basically LXML part of it. LXML part of it. Let's see how to integrate this part. Uh, okay, I think let's try this part. Okay. Let's try this part. We have import request, import request. So this is how we are doing that request part of it. From LXML import HTML, from LXML import HTML. This is how we'll be basically converting basically your HTML code into an XML code. Now we are basically writing our JavaScript scrapper function. Now thing is basically we have to integrate this splash code with your LXML part. So that's the only challenge over here. I think let's try this part. So we have a script. Since we wanted to integrate a splash code, since it is a multiple line code, I think that's the standard in Python. So this is how we are adding that multiple line script over here. Only thing is basically how to use a post request. So since we are using a post request URL, I think that's the only thing. First is your source URL. What is this source URL? Basically, as we have started our Docker container, so basically we can see that the client is being, we can use it using localhost colon 8050. So that is what we have to use it. So this is HTTP colon localhost 8050. Here we have to use a slash run basically in order to run this basically a splash code. Now how to integrate this part? So here we are integrating the rest of the part basically in the format of a JSON format. Here source, Lua source is basically, since we are making sure this is the what syntax we have written, basically it's of Lua construct. So here the source is basically Lua construct. URL is basically, here we will going to give that URL basically from this website gearbase.com. Okay, I think that's the only thing which we require. This is how we'll be sending out a post request. This is how we are sending out that post request. Now since the request has been gone, now the data which we are getting, so basically we wanted to convert in the format of a XML. So HTML dot from string. So this is how we are basically converting the data from HTML to an XML content. Now only thing is, now we have to read the content. Now we have to read the content. So let's try for one thing. I think rest as we have done it for that other projects, I think let's do it like for other projects. So I think let's try to find the name, and rest all things are available. I think let's try to search for this name part. Okay, so again we'll come back to this elements. Let's try to use our let's try to use our element. We'll move to this part is element water, this. Okay. Okay, now where we are basically if we notice basically what is this li class. Let's try this part, li class. So li class, this is ul class. Okay, so this is unordered list which will give you entire. We are focusing on this li class. I think let's try to find this li class. So we're going to use again same control F. Basically we have to go to that goods item. So let's try to write our XPath li. So we have to use @class is equals to goods item, goods item. So we have to use a contains method, contains method. So we have li, this is correct. We have a contains method, we have @class, which we have correct, goods item, which is correct. I think let's copy paste. Since here we have a multiple class, so we have to use a contains method. Okay, I think the mistake, I think let's try this part one more time. Because there might be a some class will be related to this. I think it's good to remove this part. We have to find li. So we have to find tag li. We have a contains method. We have @class. We have goods item. Surprise. Okay, I think let's try that ul part. ul. We have contains method. We have @class. We have selling goods list. Okay. Okay. So we have li. I think let's try one more time. So we have to look for contains method. Contains method. We have @class. We have basically we want to look for goods item. Okay, finally we able to get it. Okay. Next part is basically we have to read a text. We have to read a text. I think let's go to this text part of it. Since we have to read for a text part of it. Okay, I think yeah, that's the data available. I think let's try this part. So we have this. So we have to go to this. So we have div, we have @class. We got the title and we have to move to the next anchor tag. We have anchor tag, then we have to move to text. So finally we done. Yeah. Okay, so we are able to get this like apart. Only thing is why we are failing basically since if the site, if this website got refreshes itself, so keep on these properties, keep on updating itself. So that's how we are basically, so we have to get a proper basically root node in order to get identify this. So this is how we are able to get a text property. Now, if we wanted to look for what is a discounted price, let's try this part. So this is your discounted price available. Again, it's simple. So we have to go to this div class, which is goods item details, and we have to look for basically a span and span text. I think let's try this part. So we have a div @class. I think that's the last part before ending this. So we have a goods item detail. Detail, I think that's available. Next, we have to go to span. I think that's what we are into it, and we have to look for basically a text. I think that's what it is done. Yeah. So that's complete your part. I think I think this similarly we can able to find it. What is it original price available? What is it original price available? So same way we have done it for deal in deals. Basically we have find it for name, original price, discounted price for each and every one of it. We have created a append list. We can dump this into a JSON format, and basically this JSON format can be basically moved to any of the file like a format. So this is how basically important is basically to read that basically each and every HTML content. We have taken the help of a splash, which requires basically a bit on Lua scripts basically in order to write this particular script. So that's what basically we are aim to complete. So what we have done so far. So where we started with, so we have yeah. So we discuss about what is web scraping. Then we discuss about basically the crawlers and the scrappers. So crawlers is basically it requires a design pattern in order to write to get the data available. Once the data is available, then basically we can use a scrap as we have just seen. This is what we have seen, that communication network and HTTP protocol, which happens basically whenever we are making a request and response. So we have seen that request and a Postman tool. We have done it using LXML, as well as we have done using Splash. Next time we are planning to do it on BeautifulSoup and Scrappy. Okay, so we have done all the four projects. Basically, first HTML parsing, second recursive HTML parsing, basically using IMDb, then API parser, and then last one is basically a JavaScript parser. Basically, here we have taken the help of a Splash JavaScript. So that's what actually we are planning to cover. Anyone has any questions?